I cheated on my wife. These are words that you really never want to ever have to say. You never want to hear them. This is something that you just don't want anyone to hear. The fact that I cheated on my spouse. And if you're honest, if you ever get to a place where that's the truth and that's the reality, or that's something that you've done, you don't know what to do next, especially because, again, you're a Christian. This isn't supposed to happen to you. You know, you didn't get married with the intention on not being faithful. I mean, there's just so many things going on in your head right now, and it's hard. It's difficult to know where to go next. And so because of that, I wanted to share my story with cheating and some 4 things that I learned from it to hopefully move your life forward. And this podcast isn't going to feel the same as our other podcast. You'll notice, number 1, we're not going to have a really cool high energy intro that we normally have, because if I'm being honest, this isn't a subject that feels like it should have that type of vibe to it. The second thing you're going to notice is that my wife won't be joining me for this episode. And if I'm honest, it's just because I feel like I'm able to share with you all a little bit more transparently, and not have to feel like any sort of shame if I'm able to talk to you guys directly. And so she knows everything I'm going to share with you. She'll hear the podcast herself. But if I'm honest, there's still a little bit of a part of me that doesn't want to talk about this in front of her, because it's just very, very hard. And so maybe as a way of not holding back, and as a way for us to be a little bit more intimate with the story, I just want to talk to you directly. And maybe if I could talk her into it, I'd maybe have her share her side of the story and her story as well without me present, because I think it just provides a little bit more openness. So if you're here, the reason why you should listen to the end is because what I'm going to share with you is not just my story, but the biblical truths that I learned from my story. And if you don't understand these, number 1, you're going to treat the infidelity and the cheating as an isolated event, and you're not going to be able to see it as a pattern that might have existed prior to the actual physical cheating portion, or the cheating in whatever form it took. Also, if you don't understand, some of the tips that we're going to share, you're not going to see how this could actually be something God uses to lead people into a place of holiness, to lead people closer to Him. You also might doubt whether or not your spouse really even loves you. And so, again, all the things I'm going to share might shed some light on these subjects, and it's going to probably help move your family forward and past this moment of infidelity and cheating. I would also say, if you are listening to this right now and you say to yourself, you know what, I haven't experienced cheating where my spouse, my wife, or my husband has cheated on me. Maybe, should I even listen? I would definitely say you should listen, because this is something that you want to understand before you ever have any encounters with any level of infidelity, not just physically cheating and going out and having sex with someone that you're not married to, but everything from pornography down to, again, what you're searching on Instagram. Like it applies to all of it. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. I want to start the story of how I cheated on Doriana way back when I was 15 years old, before we had even met. And I was introduced to pornography by some family members, and that started me down a trek of really misunderstanding how women are to be treated, misunderstanding what sex is supposed to be. And the reason why I start at pornography is because what I realized recently was that me cheating on my wife was not an isolated event that happened while we were in college. It was something that started way before we even started dating. That my misunderstanding of sex, my misunderstanding of how women are supposed to be treated, my misunderstanding of relationships and marriage, it was warped way before we met. And what ended up happening was, you see that warpedness and that misunderstanding of women, it predated my wife, it predated Doriana, and it went all the way back to my teenage years. And it wasn't until we met, started dating, eventually getting engaged and getting married, that you start to see that my misunderstandings played out in all of those different areas. And so for you who are listening right now, if you have gone through this event, or if you have gone through infidelity or cheating, you need to realize that a person cheating on you, or you cheating, is not an isolated event that happened out of nowhere. It's not something that is just an isolated event that happened and it came from nothing. And what I mean by that is there's so many seeds that are planted in your life that God is trying to redeem you from, that God is trying to heal. So many hurts, hangups, and habits that you bring to your walk with Jesus that God is trying to heal you from. But what ends up happening is, if those things aren't dealt with, they end up resulting in cheating. And so selfishly, we get so focused on the fact that we cheated on someone that we love, or that someone that we love cheated on us, that we don't actually take a step back and see, where did this come from? I mean, yes, it comes from sin. Yes, it comes from the heart. Yes, it comes from your flesh. But let's actually go back and figure out, where did your misunderstanding of who you are, who God is, and how you're supposed to treat other people, where did that come from? And if we could take a step back, again, not being so selfish and only focusing on what they did against us and how they hurt our marriage, if we take a step back, we might realize that there's a deeper story of hurts and hangups that happened way back when they were a teenager. And that's what started the trek and led to what they did to us, or what we did, as far as cheating. Now, with that being said, that does not excuse the action. It definitely does not excuse the action, but I think in love, you don't want to focus so much on just this one event and then isolate it and circle around it to the point where you actually miss that this is a pattern that might have developed over time. So yeah, I'm 15 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old. I get exposed to pornography. There's websites that are out there, and what that ended up doing to me is it made me try to want to get approval from as many females as possible. So even when I first started dating my now wife, but then girlfriend, there was this flipping back and forth I was doing between dating her and talking to one of my exes. And I kept flipping back and forth between them in a way where, yes, it did overlap and there was cheating there. But because I justified it in my head as like, oh yeah, well, we're not really talking or we're not really dating. But the issue is I was still trying to validate myself from other females. And so the reason I bring that up is because this is not the isolated event that I'm talking about when I say I cheated on my spouse, I cheated on my wife, or I cheated on Doriana. That's not what I'm talking about. But the reason I bring that up is because, again, this is a spectrum. You'll see a pattern of not having integrity, or a pattern of not understanding that sex is supposed to be between a man and a woman in the covenant of marriage. There's a pattern of this happening, and it resulted in the climactic event of, oh my gosh, I cheated on my spouse. But if we don't go back and actually look at what happened before, we're going to be prone to just focus too hard on the one isolated event. So again, it's a history of lust and integrity issues that God can go back and heal from. But even after the event, you'll know what to do now, because you understand, okay, I'm not trying to guard against an isolated event. I'm not trying to set up safeguards to stop my spouse from just cheating on me, because that's an isolated event. But what I'm looking for is something more holistic, something that encompasses their full and total healing from things back when they were a teenager, healing from things back when they were first exposed to whatever sex is or whatever the misunderstanding is. We want to go back and heal those things, not just guard against them cheating on us in the future. So now we're into college, and at this time I'm still struggling with validating myself with female attention, but it's not going into anything sexual. But I love, females liking me. I love female attention, and it's filling a hole that I have inside of me it's not healthy. It's not a healthy feedback loop. And this is what led me to starting a friendship and a relationship with a female that got completely out of hand. And I end up having sex with someone who is not my girlfriend. And this is the climactic scene where, again, at this time, she's not my spouse, but she would soon be my wife. And so here's the part where I cheated on my then girlfriend, but now wife, Doriana. And it really, it broke my heart. It honestly surprised me, because I saw it coming, but I told myself that's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen because I'm actually committed to Doriana. But it happened anyways. And again, it surprised me. And so I guess the second takeaway I want to throw out there is that in many cases between me, my wife, and other people who we've coached and counseled, when someone physically cheats, there's something in their mind where they actually know they've made a bad trade. They've traded down for a lesser love. They've traded something and someone, and they traded down for like a really bummy deal. And it was something that was short term, and it was a mistake. And normally people realize it was a mistake the second they did it, probably they realized it's a mistake before they did it, during, and then after, like they know this is a really bad mistake, but I traded something of greater value for something of lesser value. You see this same concept in the Bible. I think it's in Romans, where it says they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served the creation rather than the creator. And so again, this is not a parallel. None of us are God. But what I'm trying to say here is that humans have the ability to look at one thing that they know is beautiful and glorious and healthy and good for them, and we trade it for the temptation and the lie, and we trade down to something that we know is of lesser value, that's not good for us, that's not going to bring us life and joy. And then after we make that mistake, we know immediately, I've made a mistake. I don't like this person. I don't want to be with this person. This was a bad choice, and it was a bad decision. It was a bum deal, but I did it. And so the reason I wanted to share that part of the story is because many of you right now who have been cheated on, you have this question in your mind of whether or not your spouse even loves you. You have this question of whether or not the person that you're engaged to or dating, like, how do they even love you? Like, how could you love someone and do what you did? And so, again, this is not an excuse, and this is not one of those things where the person who, again, as a person who cheated, I did something very, very wrong, and I made a huge mistake. And it's very hard for this conversation to even move forward. And so that's why I'm making this podcast, so that you can hear it from me, maybe because you won't hear it from your spouse. You won't hear it from the person that you're dating, but hear it from me. There are many times where even when you cheat on your spouse, you still love them, but you've made a huge, huge mistake. You still like them. You want to be with them. You do want to move forward, but you have made a really, really huge mistake, and you did make a bad trade, and you did make a bad decision. But that doesn't mean that the feelings that you've had for them or the commitments that you made to them are things that you don't want to follow through on. And it doesn't mean that you want to just throw the whole relationship away. Again, you made a mistake, but hear it from me. There's many times where you can cheat on someone and you do have strong feelings for them. You do want to make commitments to them, but you simply don't know how to be faithful. You don't know how to have integrity. And that goes back to my very first point, that a lot of infidelity and cheating, it exists on this spectrum of lust and lack of integrity that culminates in this one event that's cheating. And if I'm being honest, these are things that already existed in my life, but then they crossed over into a threshold, or they crossed over into an action that now everyone cares about. Everyone's really, oh my gosh, I can't believe, this big event happened. Can you believe so-and-so cheated on so-and-so? But I would say that there has been a low grade level of infidelity, a low grade level of lust, or a low grade level of not having integrity, or a low grade level of validating yourself by the smiles and the opinions and the comments of people of the opposite sex. It's always existed in your relationship, and it culminated and it crossed over a threshold. And now you have the fact that you physically cheated on your spouse, or you've done something where you cheated on your spouse. But again, that doesn't negate the fact that, you may love them and you want to be committed. You want to be committed to them, and you do love them and you do care about them, but you've made this mistake, and the mistake is based on things from your past that have never truly healed, that have never truly been transformed by God. So after this event happened, I'll be honest, my life was pretty shaken up, because again, I didn't think that this was something I would ever be able to do. I didn't think this was something that I would ever do. And so it really snapped. It was something that God had used to let me know that I'm not in control of, my actions. Like I can't control my life. And so I needed to give control over to Him. And so this was a moment where the Jesus and the gospel just became so evident and beautiful and bright to me, to the point where I end up giving my life to God, saying, I'm going to follow you for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to be in control of my life. I obviously don't know what I'm doing. I didn't think I would make some of the mistakes that I've made so far in my life. And I'm tired. I'm tired of being the captain of my own ship. I'm tired of controlling my life. And so I want to give it over to you. And again, at this time, I didn't know if me and Doriana would stay together. I didn't know if we were going to continue forward, but I did know that I had made a huge mistake, and it had surprised me to the point where I wanted to find out who can I give my life to that can make better choices for me, who can control the urges that I have and the temptations that I have. And so I turned to Jesus. And since then, He's done that, and it's been amazing. And so the reason I share that part of my story is because I want to maybe give encouragement to some of you that this is something that God can redeem and can use to bring you or your spouse closer to Jesus. And I'm not one of those guys that's like silver. I'm not just going to throw a silver lining in your face. I'm not going to sit here and just say, whoa, everything's going to be blue skies and, God will redeem it, just, chin up or whatever. I'm not saying that. I missed a lot of meals because I lost my appetite. We cried a lot of tears. There was so much distrust that we had to get over. And there's so many levels to our healing that I can't even really include inside of this podcast episode, to the point where actually we're recording a whole course on how to overcome cheating and how to overcome infidelity. And so if you want to get access to that course, click below. And I think we'll have like an email sign up. So it'll let you know the moment that it goes live. But there's so much that's included in this process that I can't really throw into this podcast. But I want to say that this was the event that God used to wake me up spiritually, to lead me back to him, and to put me into a committed relationship to where now, we're going on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. I'm pornography free. I'm more faithful to my wife. I'm on living on mission for God. I have a different view of women. There's just been so much healing that has happened, but this was the moment where God had used it to make everything switch and change, and not just for the sake of me having a happy marriage. That was a byproduct of the bigger win, which was me falling in love with Jesus. So where are we at now? So now me and my wife are happily married, committed to each other, committed to the mission of Jesus. We have a child that we're raising, that is being raised in a house where we're both present and we both love each other. Trust has been rebuilt. We happily, share with each other. We hold each other accountable. We don't police each other. We don't police out of shame, but we hold each other accountable, joyfully holding each other accountable. Our relationship is much better than it ever was in the past, because in the past, I had those hurts, hangups, and habits that I was trying to deal with on my own, but now I have a partner that can help deal with them with me. And so I've gained a partner. I've lost a police officer. And so that's another beauty. There's been so much change that has happened as a result of this, where God has brought this to the light and he's healed it. And then he's allowed Doriana to join in on that process. And it's been a beautiful thing. And so my last encouragement to you is that things get better. And I'm not just saying better than they feel right now in the moment of cheating. I'm saying things get better than they have ever been. And that's through God. That's through God's help. And so if that's the final encouragement I could leave with you, is that things do get better. So just as a quick recap, in case you're not able to take notes right now, the 4 big ideas I want to pull out of the story that I've shared with you from my life is, number 1, don't treat physically cheating on your spouse as an isolated event. It probably exists in a spectrum of other hurts and hangups and habits that span back to maybe even childhood, right? It's probably there's always been these low level grades of lust or low level grades of not having integrity that finally culminated in the physical act of cheating. But do not treat it as an isolated event, because if you do, your solutions that you start coming up with are going to be very incomplete, and they're only going to exist to try to protect you from it happening again. They're not going to exist to try to actually heal this person that has all these hurts, hangups, and habits that drove them to make this terrible decision. And so, do we still have boundaries? Absolutely, we still have boundaries. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, many people try to approach the situation on how can I get them to never hurt me again, instead of how can I partner with God to see them transformed and look more like Christ and be more godlike and being able to be healed from what's going on. The byproduct of that is someone who's a healthy individual that does not lie or cheat, but don't go after just protecting yourself and your emotions first. You need to actually partner with God to see that person healed. And if you're the person who cheated, you need to partner with God to see yourself healed. Don't just set up all these barriers to stop you from doing it again or cheating with that one person again, but you never address where the heck this came from, or how these hurts, hangups, and habits have been seeded in your life that culminated in this one event. So number 1, recognize that cheating is not just it's not just an isolated event, but it's probably, again, a spectrum of things that have led to this. And so we want to treat it like that. Number 2, many people who cheat actually do love their spouse, the person that they hurt, the person they cheated on. They actually do want to be committed, but they don't know how, and they don't have the integrity yet. They don't have the healing yet that they need to be in a committed relationship. And so they make stupid decisions. And they know it's a stupid decision deep down inside, or even on the surface. Like, they know immediately, I screwed up. This was a really, really dumb decision. And now they're just scrambling to try to get back into a place where they know they're supposed to be. Number 3, these events are things that can lead you closer to Jesus, so you can understand the gospel a lot more. This is not a cop out to say that's this big silver lining, like, all your pain happens for the reason of moving you closer to Jesus. Or, I don't want to pretend that the only way God gets our attention is through these traumatic events, because I don't think that's helpful. But what I'm saying is, in these traumatic events, God can redeem them to make us more like him, to get our attention, and to see our relationship with God moved forward. And then lastly, things get much, much better. You do not have to police your spouse. You don't have to be a police officer, but you can actually be an accountability partner, and you can set up environments where they have accountability partners. So it's not you policing them, but really you partnering with them to see them made more like Christ. So the last thing I'll say is that we've recorded other episodes that talk specifically about cheating. So if you click the link in the episode notes below, you go to themarriagesecrets.com/cheating, and you'll see everything that we have. And we can't really cover everything we have in 25 minutes of being with you. And so I'm excited to make you an offer where you can actually get everything we have. All of our premium podcast episodes, all of our training courses that we have. It's over $120 worth of value, and you get it all for $5 a month. And if you want to try it before you buy it, you have that option too. So if you click the link in the episode notes below, go to themarriagesecrets.com/family. You'll be able to get access to all of the training material we have, all of the premium podcasts that we have, and it'll be there for you. I know a lot of you already have bills that you're paying, and you already have, different things you're subscribed to. And I would say this to you: having money in the bank is good, but ultimately money is a tool used for exchanging something. So you want to use money, right? You want to spend money to exchange it for something of greater value in return. And I believe that the Phenomenal Family Inner Circle is a great return on your investment. It's a great return on your investment. And I also know that we all have some form of disposable income. And so if we can shift it away from wasted expenses like more donuts and coffee and things like that into assets that's actually going to bring us long-term fulfillment, I think that's a better use of our money. And you all probably have great jobs. Money replenishes, right? Each month money comes back, but your time doesn't come back, right? Your relationships and the trust that you lost, that stuff doesn't just rebuild itself on its own. And so we created all of these resources so that you can actually move your family forward. It's not going to break your bank. It's not going to cost you a whole bunch of money. There's no long-term contracts. And so if you enter now, there's no risk to you. Again, if you want to quit at any time, you can. But we want to make that available to you. So again, below, go to themarriagesecrets.com/family. You'll get everything we have. If you're not interested in that, but you just want all the resources we have on cheating, go to themarriagesecrets.com/cheating. And all of those resources are there for you. All right, family. See you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Young Black Married Christian Podcast.
There are a few ways that you can get in contact with us. If you click the link in the episode notes below, you'll see that we have a website. We actually have listed all of our teachings at themarriagesecrets.com. Also, if you'd like to submit a question for us to answer, there'll be a link for that as well. And for some of you who want one-on-one coaching or even a workshop to be done for you, your family, or your church, there's a link down in the episode notes for that as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Football is back, and BetMGM is inviting new customers to join the huddle and enjoy the action like never before. Sign up today using bonus code JERSEY, and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. You'll also have instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, player props, and boosted odds specials. Just download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and enter bonus code JERSEY and place your first wager risk-free up to $1,000. The BetMGM app is the perfect way to experience the excitement of wagering on live sports, now in more markets than ever. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. New customer offer. 21 years of age or older to wager. New Jersey only. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Are you looking for a rewarding new career? The New Jersey courts are hiring. Make a difference doing work that matters. With competitive salaries, pension, benefits, on-the-job training, partial remote work, and paid holidays. Apply now at njcourts.gov/careers.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com. Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.